What's up, everyone? I'm Adam, and I collect sports stuff. We all know that back in 2020, during the global pandemic, a lot of collectors really leaned into their hobby in order to bring them some brighter days. We couldn't go to shows, we couldn't really meet up with fellow collectors to do what we love the most, and that is build our collections. So during this time, I spent a little extra time online trying to find items that, would bring a little bit brighter days to my life. We're all kind of sitting at home. We can't see anybody. We can't do anything. We're watching shows over and over and over again and trying to avoid the news any way we could. During one of my many days of scouring the web for something awesome, I came across this beautiful item here. It's an autographed Luka Dončić postcard. Now, I saw this ad on Facebook. Now, as much as you probably know, Facebook ads aren't always the most trusted. Some of them can be a little bit sketchy, and some of them can be preying on people looking for certain items. I had this consideration when I first saw this item pop up. It was from a website that was claiming to represent Doncic in terms of a fan club perspective. They were offering clothing items and any kind of memorabilia to kind of represent his early successes in the NBA. So I'm a big Luka Doncic fan. I've always enjoyed the way he plays. I've enjoyed his passion. He can be a little bit of a complainer from time to time, but I don't mind that. I like the competitive fire that he has. So the deal with this postcard was, in order to get it, you had to spend about $100 on Luka Doncic clothing. Um, I really didn't think this was much of a problem. Most clothing will cost you a fair bit of chunk of change anyways, but at least in this respect, I would have been able to land this beautiful photo right here. So I didn't go into this blindly. I did a ton and ton of research on this. I looked up other people's perspectives on it. Some people were convinced that this was a hustle. Some people were convinced that this was fine and just go with it and don't worry about the issues. Now, I was wanting to make sure that everything was legit. So I reached out to the marketing company behind the website, via email, to kind of make sure that everything was kind of on the up and up. I wanted to make sure I at least got a response. I did not want to make an order to a company that proved to be a phantom company and was simply just taking your money, then disappearing and cutting off communications. I fortunately was able to get through to somebody at the company. Now, besides the fact that there's a language barrier, they were in Slovenia, I'm here in Canada. I could tell that they were not just trying to hustle fans like myself. I asked very pointed questions about the legitimacy of the situation. I outright asked them if this was a scam. I tried really hard to not be offending them, but I also wanted to make sure that I wasn't just sending money off into the ether with nothing to come back from. Within days, I kind of had the impression that they were on the up and up. And it was one of those times I was willing to take the chance. I'm sitting at home, I'm bored, I wanted a little bit of a thrill. Uh, Pandemic, right? You couldn't do much for excitement than order stuff online and wait with much excitement to see what came to you. So I pulled the trigger, I ordered this item, and to my surprise, it was at my house within 2 days. It shipped from Slovenia, which is across the other side of the world. And the courier service that I was following, they had this sucker on 2 or 3 different flights. They had them in shipping vans everywhere. Now, what I had to say was, the one thing I did not consider at the time was the duty charge on top of it. So beyond the $100+ I spent at the Luka Doncic store to get this postcard right here, as you can see, I had to also pay a huge duty charge of, like, I think it was about $80 Canadian, maybe a little bit higher than that. It was definitely a sticker shock, and upped my bill to probably about 250 or change, or 250 or so, when all was kind of said and done. Now that was a little bit steep, but I rationalized it to myself by the fact that I was getting clothing and I was getting this beautiful autographed photo without having to wait in any lineups, without having to try and find another authenticated item online, which at that point was still crazy expensive. And as you can imagine now, flashing forward to all the success he has had, his autographs are a lot of money to get unless you're able to get him on the street, as he is a pretty willing signer if you catch him on an in-person situation. But if you're just buying online because you're like me and you live far away from where he plays, that's the reality of things. So I had this item now. I had it for a number of years, maybe about 5 years before I got it authenticated. Up until that point, I always had a little bit of doubt that maybe I got hustled. I like to trust people. I think I got a good perspective from the people I bought this from, but I just was never entirely sure. Earlier this year, I got it authenticated through JSA. Everything is good to go. And now I can have this on my wall and completely trust that my instincts were right on this occasion, and I got this beautiful item right here. Now, the only bummer is that Luka is now with the Lakers and not the Mavericks anymore. Now, the Mavericks aren't my favorite team by any means. I'm in Canada. I'm near Toronto. I love the Raptors. But it's a lot easier to cheer for a team like the Mavericks than it is the Lakers. We all have our reasons for hating the Lakers, so I don't need to tell you mine. But let's be real, not everybody loves the Lakers, and there's a lot of good reasons for that. Nevertheless, what I learned in this situation was that sometimes you just have to take the risk. Now, there are a lot of, like I said, there are a lot of ads on Facebook and online and other online websites that will kind of maybe try and dupe collectors into sending money in and not get exactly what they thought they were getting. So it's always crucial to do your research, but it's also crucial to trust your gut. Sometimes you'll be surprised by how well it works out. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks. Have a great day.